This is video number 1 of my 12 days of comic book videos for Christmas. Comic Army, Comic Vet coming to you. I hope everyone's doing well and getting ready for Christmas. I decided to release 12 videos leading up to Christmas Eve, just talking about 2020 and some of the things that have happened to me along the way when it comes to comic books. With this first video, I'm going to talk about probably the biggest book of 2020. It all kind of started a couple weeks ago when I went to my local comic shop and discovered that this comic shop had 2 copies of this super hot comic book, and him and I quickly worked out a deal, and I purchased one of the 2 copies. I came back today to finish paying off the book, and I discovered actually he had something else that caught my eye. So we're going to talk about the something else that caught my eye, because I bought the book. This particular book was released in July 1976. I was just about in the neighborhood of turning 2 at the time, and Jack Kirby had returned from DC to Marvel. As everyone knows, this particular book has a film coming out. Probably actually should already be out, but because of the pandemic, it's been pushed back to release November 5th, 2021. So basically 11 months from now. If you haven't figured it out already, the book that I managed to get my hands on was Eternals #1. This particular book was both written and drawn by Jack King Kirby, and it went on for I believe 20 issues before the book, somewhere in that neighborhood, before the book was actually canceled and wrapped up with a pretty bow in a particular issue of Thor. It was a few years later, at some point in the 80s, where volume 2 of the Eternals was released to much fanfare. So that's a good spec book. It would probably grade somewhere between 8.5 to 9. It's going to need a little bit of TLC before it gets graded. I also need the border to open up so I can get back down into the United States to ship everything that way. But the big book that I picked up, that I feel incredibly fortunate to get and to pay Canadian funds versus American funds. Well, let's just talk about it first. This book was released in August 2011, so that means I guess the character that's featured in this is 9 years old. The creators of this character is Brian Michael Bendis, and was drawn by Sarah Pichelli. So yes, this character was originally drawn by a woman. And the book, of course, that I'm talking about is Ultimate Fallout 4, Spider-Man No More, the first appearance of Miles Morales. As you can see, this is a real high-grade copy. I am going to eventually send it in. I may press it and then get it graded just for that extra kick, for hopefully a 9.8. The story about this particular issue is when I arrived at my LCS, I walked in and he has a display to your left, and it caught my eye right away. Obviously, everyone who knows anything about comic books right now knows that this particular issue, when you walk past it, it's going to catch your eye. And that it did. So when I asked them to take a look at it up close, he reached in and he put it on the counter. And then he simply pulled one from the other. He actually had two. Yep, he had two first appearances of Miles. And obviously I was intrigued and quickly began the negotiation dance. Went back and forth till we both settled on a number that would work. I put a little bit of a down payment on it and came back a little while later hoping that the other book would be there and that in fact I would pick up both copies. Well, unfortunately someone picked up the other book and well, at least I got the choice of the litter. So again, Ultimate Fallout 4, Spider-Man No More, the first appearance of arguably the hottest character in comic books today, Miles Morales. A big spec book in the Internals #1. Comic Army. This is video #1 of the 12 videos for comic books of Christmas. Did I even say that right? For 12 videos, comic books for Christmas, volume 1. See you tomorrow with video #2. Comic Army. It's Comic Vet out. Merry Christmas.